welcome to your channel Day of 4 and thank you so much for being with us. This is most common yet most complicated and most of the people sometimes have doubt in it, right? We are going to talk about HTTP status code in detail actually, right? So stay tuned with us. If you like the video, do like, subscribe and comment your views on it. Thank you. Okay. So when we talk about HTTP status code, what does that mean actually? HTTP, right? When we talk about HTTP response status code, indicate whether a specific HTTP request has been successfully completed or not. Sounds very simple, is it? Okay. So like we have 5 type of HTTP status code from 1 to 199 range. This range known for informational, right? Then we have something called 200 to 299 that known for success. So whatever status code is there, you are receiving or in your request and response, you are saying that would be the success, right? Then if anything you are receiving in between 300 to 399, that would be a redirection. However, if I want to receive something between 400 to 499, that would be a client side error. But if you are going to receive something between 500 to 599, that would be a server side error. So remember that 400 to 499 is a client side error. However, a server side error is lies between 500 to 599, right? Okay. So this was the basic of HTTP status code. But yeah, we will be covering in detail each method, like each course which is there. Not all of them, but yeah, most common we're gonna cover for sure. Okay. So when we talk about the status code, the first status code came in our list is 100 to 199. And the most common status code that we can find is 100, which is known for continue, and the 101, which is known for switching protocols, right? Okay. So when we talk about HTTP 100 status code, what does that mean actually? This is the status code stands for continuing status code, is an informational response that indicates the server has received the initial parts of the request and is ready to receive the rest part of it, right? So basically over here, what is happening? When you are like sending a data, like they are confirming, server is confirming that yeah, they have received some part of it, and the rest, if you're going to send, they will continue accepting that, right? Basically, it mainly used in the cases where the client side sent large payload, like file upload. Like suppose you sometimes you find on YouTube, right? YouTube, we are going to upload this video, right? So suppose if in between, like half of the video or 25% or 30% of video has been uploaded, right? And then we want to ensure the request results are valid before receiving the entire body. So this is where we can say that it would be a continuing 100 informational code, right? Now, if I tell you how does this request look like? Suppose in a hypothetical example, if I give you, right, post like I'm uploading some sort of data, host could be rayofhope.com or example.com, right? And the content would look like this, like 104 or whatsoever number, it could be like it's 10 MB or whatsoever. And then we like had expect 100 continue. And in response, we're going to get something like this, right? So that shows that our is this server is accepting and will continue accepting, right? Then there is something called 101 switching protocol. This stands for status code is sent by the server to inform the client that it is switching protocols as requested by the client. Usually during an upgrade request. Upgrade request? Okay. This is the most common scene when switching from HTTP to WebSocket or HTTP 2 or any other protocol. You might have seen, right? Most often nowadays, guys, if a website is running on, like mostly you will find they are running on HTTP 1.1 only, right? You will also find HTTP 2 as well, but most of the cases are running on 1.1, and then we're switching from 1.1 to WebSocket. So that would be a switching protocol. Mostly used when upgrading HTTP to WebSocket to establish a persistent or bidirectional connection actually, right, between the client and the server. How it will look like? I mean, when we look over here at the get, like its request body, right? See what is happening. It's a get, we are like getting a profile info, right? And the host seems like rayofhope.com, and we are upgrading to WebSocket, right? Right. So over here now, what we will be getting in response, HTTP 1.1 101 switching protocol and upgrade WebSocket. That means we are upgrading to WebSocket, right? So that for that purpose, we will be using 101 switching protocol. I mean, most of the time you would not encounter this is in your day-to-day life, but yeah, it is important to know about it, right? There are other protocols in it as well, right? But these are the informational codes that you need to know about it. There is not more than that. Okay. So then there's come for successful course. Yeah, that makes us happy, right? When we are executing a malicious payload and it gets executed, we got the pop-up, then we got the accesses, right? Or any other sort of payload or malicious code we are trying to inject, right? Okay. Yeah, sure. So now when we talk about 200 to 299 ranges, all the like status code lies in between this is successful codes. The first one is 200 OK, right? Okay, it indicates that the request was successful and the server has returned the requested data, right? This is very simple. What are the places where there be used this? On get method, on post method, as well as on put and patch method. And along with that, we also use on delete. When we are going to delete the data or we are going to delete an account, we need to get that 200 OK, right? So where there we gonna use 200 OK. Now there's something called 201 created. It is indicating, right? Either we are using post request or put request because we are going to create a data. It indicates that a request was successful and as a result, a new resources was created on the server, right? Okay. Now there's something called 204, which is no content. Basically, it indicates that the request was successfully processed, but the server is not returning any content in the response body. What are the possibilities where we can use on delete, put patch, post, and action without any responses? There's something called 206, a partial content. What exactly mean actually? When we talk about partial content, we are talking about the server has successfully processed a range of requests for a portion of the resources. And this is used when a client requests a specific range of data, such as when it resuming or downloading or streaming content. So, I mean, basically, when you are like, suppose you are downloading a YouTube video, right? And you are resuming it, or you are downloading some sort of file from Chrome or any browser, resuming it, right? So that is where you are going to use 206 partial content, right? Okay. So this is about 200 to 299 stress code. Indeed, there are more, but no one gonna ask you more than this actually, right? Okay. So now there's something called redirection 3002399, right? Guys, this is really important and sometimes people get confused too, right? Okay, so when we talk about the first one is 301, which is move permanently. Where do we use actually? When client or browser or cloud receives 301 redirect, it should automatically request a new URL. Suppose you are searching something on google.com, but it is redirecting. Suppose if in my I have a login page, right? I have a login page, right? And but I am using Microsoft services. So if you are going to put your info over here, it will redirect you to where? It will redirect you to Azure services. Azure services to login over there. Login over there. So once you login over there, it will redirect you back to our website, right? So that would be a 301 redirection. Means completely you are leaving the service or the domain, right? Okay. So I mean when it happens actually. So when we talk about, I mean, when do we use URL redirection? Obviously, right? When we are changing the domain, that is also we are using, we can use 300 OK. Or if we are going to upgrade, HTTPS upgrade, like to force user to move from HTTP to HTTPS, right? I mean, this website using HTTP, but we want to move to HTTPS, right? So forcefully we are making it to move from HTTP to HTTPS, right? How we can do so? Using 301 moving permanently status code, right? This is one of the method. That should be the new, right? Okay. We can also use for certain optimizations. Guys, you can remember that. I could not write all those things, but I'm listening, you can just note it down, right? Okay. So now there's something called 3025, which is known for temporary redirect. In this 302, it indicates that the requested resources has temporarily moved to a new URL, but it does not pass a SEO link juice. Okay. So you might be confusing where to use it. Suppose like if you are changing a temporary URL, right? Basically when when a page is moved to a different location, like during the site maintenance or for for certain period of time, right? So that is where it gives you 302 temporary. After that, it will give you the result in 200 okay only. But it just for some sort of maintenance purpose that they have redirecting, so it could be. But we can also, apart from that 302, where do we find, like if they are going to perform A/B testing, like to test different versions of a page without affecting the original URL. So that is where also we use like a 302, right? I mean, if you are using like we talk about promo page or for campaign or login or authentication page. I mean, when you are like forgetting your password, forget functionality, right? So suppose if you create an if you like forget the like a pin, and then you change the pin, right, and you requested, right? So that is where you can also get the 302. Or if you are putting your OTP, and if the OTP is correct, we can get 302 because your account has been found, right? So those are the scenario where there you can use 302, right? Now we have something called 304, not modified. Basically, it indicates that the requested resources have not been modified since the last time the client accessed it actually. And what are the possibilities? We can be used for browser caching to avoid downloading files like image, CSS, JavaScript. Or if they haven't changed content delivery network, CDN, to deliver cache resources faster, website loading. That makes it actually. But I mean, what are the possibilities that we can use, right? Most often we can use for API calls to avoid re-downloading API responses that haven't changed, right? So they are the possible things that is where we use it, right? Again, guys, if you would have any sort of questions, feel free to ask me. Definitely, I would be happy to revert you back with my answers and any questions if you guys have about it, right? Okay. So last but not least, we have something called client error codes, which is known for client side actually. This is a client side error, right? So all the errors which you are going to receive in 400, right, between 400 to 499, that would be a client side error. This has nothing to do with server misconfiguration or anything. Okay, the first one is 400 bad request. So when we talk about 400, it indicates that a server cannot process the request due to client side error. You can say like malform syntax, missing or incorrect headers, invalid request parameters, incorrect formatting in the request body, right? So this could be the issues why they are not able to process. But if someone gonna ask you where you gonna use it, 400 bad request. So suppose if you are receiving invalid query parameters, or if you are just on a page, you are putting like a large amount of payload, very large payload. So that could be that can also lead you to get the 400 bad request. Or if you are putting wrong content type, that can also give you 400 bad requests. So there are a scenario where there you can get the 400 bad requests. But you have something called 400O, unauthorized. It indicates that the client request lacks valid authentication credential for requested resources. Unauthorized responses means authentication was failed or not provided. Basically, when we talk about 401, right, we are talking about either it is missing the authorization header, the client did not provide an authentication token or credential, therefore they are getting 401 unauthorized. Or it could be that they might have provided invalid credentials. That can also leads to get unauthorized. Or it could be that if you are using any banking application and financial application, or if they are using JWT token that might have expired, that can also lead to unauthorized. Or if you are something like if you have improper authorization schemes, or like if you're not using the proper badge tokens, that can also lead you to get 401 unauthorized. Now you have something called 403 forbidden. What it indicates that the server understands the client requested but refuses to authorize it. Authorizations succeeded, right? The server knows who you are, right? And credentials, right? But they deny the action. Why? The client does not have permission to perform the requested actions. Basically, over here, it could be either you do not have insufficient permissions, or it could be user credentials are valid but lack the required permissions. They are not saying that your credentials are wrong. They are later saying that, yeah, we know who you are, but you are not authorized to access these services. Therefore, I am forbidding you. Or it could be that for IP restrictions, or it could be that there could be something called access blocked or security policies. Sometimes in SSRA attack be performed, they block the ranges of IP. Your IP could range or could lies in those area. That can also lead you to get 403 forbidden. Then there's something called 404 not found. It indicates that the server cannot find the requested resources. The server is active and reachable, but the specific URL or resources that does not exist at the given location. It is a client-side error. The issue lies with the request only. As we already talked about, that this is the client side. It has nothing to do with server side. But when we talk about 404, it is most common vulnerability that happens actually. You are trying to access which is not there. Right? So your request is wrong. Now, when we talk about this is the end of the PPT for sure. And this, guys, all of the status code which ranges from 500 to 599, right? That is a server side status code. Whatever issues is happening or you are receiving, that could be the either internal server error or gateway error, service unavailable, or server misconfiguration, anything that would have a problem with server only, right? Okay, so when we talk about the first one is 500, which is internal server error. It happens when the code occurs when the server encounters an unexpected condition that prevents it to fulfilling the request. Confused, right? It could be that there could be server misconfiguration, like either in what we call this HT access or server settings, or it could be that there could be code errors, or if not, then database problem or dependency failures, right? So these are the scenarios which can lead to get you this. Then there is something called 502 bad gateway. When we talk about this SSH code occurs when the server acting as a gateway or proxy gets an invalid response from an upstream server. I mean, at least over here, they are getting the responses. But if I look over here at 504 gateway timeout, it occurs when server acting as a gateway or proxy does not receive timely response from upstream server. It depends on the fulfill the request. Just find the difference, guys. In 502, they are getting response from upstream server. In 504, they are not getting response from their server, upstream server, right? Basically, where there be encountered in 502, when upstream server issue, like server is down, unreachable, or timeout, or network problems are there, like connectivity issues, or if you have misconfiguration like incorrect gateway or proxy or load balancer settings, or it could be even that if the server is overload, upstream server is like overwhelmed, like with a lot of requests, that can also lead you to get the 502. But if you are having something called like a slow upstream server, or the upstream server is too low to respond, that they are not even responding, or network latency is there, or like when we talk about timeout settings, gateway proxy has a short time like timeout limit. So then you got the 504 or like a status code. But when we talk about 503 status code occur when the server is temporarily unable to handle the request, often due to being overloaded or undergoing maintenance. But it is the same. If the server is overloaded, or it is going through the maintenance, or if you have like a temporary failures could be anything. Like suppose you have to performing DDoS attack, anything, like you make the website slow and all those things, right? So there could be a lot of scenarios, right? So these are the status code, guys, which you should remember for sure, right? And if you have any sort of questions to ask, feel free to comment and I would be happy to help you. And thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe and share your views. Thank you.